Number 9 seeded LSU softball plays traditional power and number 8 seeded Stanford tonight at 9 p.m. Central in Palo Alto in Super Regional action. It's LSU's first Super Regional since 2021, and if the Lady Tigers can swipe 2 wins over the weekend from the Cardinal, they will return to the College World Series for the first time since 2017. It won't be easy, but LSU's accustomed to tall tasks since it plays in the SEC, the toughest conference in the country. All 13 SEC teams made the NCAA tournament this season, and that speaks volumes. In Palo Alto, the setting will be wholly different, but the challenge the same for LSU. Stanford is armed with home field advantage and an elite pitching staff, something LSU saw week after week in Southeastern Conference regular season play. Stanford right-handed sophomore Niger Kennedy compiled a 21-4 record with a .52 ERA and 292 strikeouts in 187 2/3 innings. Opposing batters hit .133 against her, and she pitched 6 shutouts. So, runs will be hard to come by, and opportunities to score will be rare for the Lady Tigers. If you can get to her, find a way to score, you have an opportunity to win the ball game, LSU coach Beth Torina said. We'll have a good plan. We have players who have had success against her in the past. We'll give it our best shot. I'm Jake McMains, your host for today's TigerRag.com's Audibles podcast. Patrick Wright, the voice of the Lady Tigers, gave Jeff Palermo and Todd Horne a full scouting report on Stanford and what Torina's Tigers must do to return to the College World Series. We'll jump right into Wright's thoughts after this.
I think that most people that contact the 9-day Lifeline are looking to be heard and to feel seen.
Anybody that calls here to talk about anything that has them upset, we will talk to them.
Even on our chat and text services, you will be actually chatting and texting with a real person.
We have enough resources to be able to help people in any type of situation.
We have helpline specialists that are trained to handle the variety of calls that we get.
It's a very laid-back thing. We're not judging anybody. We're just a listening ear that some people don't have.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches.
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
The players.
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, man.
The recruits.
Show some passion and some heart.
And those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the SEC.
All those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU talk.
What a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Helm Paint and Decorating. The paint experts of Louisiana. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Max Home. And the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Jackson Blackman and our hosts, Todd Horne and Jeff Palermo.
3 great players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio.
All right, back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo along with the editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne. Another segment here with Patrick Wright, the voice of the LSU softball team. Patrick will be heading out, you said tomorrow, right? Wednesday, you're leaving for Palo Alto, California?
Yeah, tomorrow morning, actually. We're leaving about 10, so we'll get a full, you go back a couple hours, so we'll be there kind of midday Wednesday, and we don't play till Friday night, so it'll be, there'll be some downtime for sure.
Well, I think a lot of film study, right, to try to figure out how to hit this pitcher for Stanford who has a minuscule ERA of 0.52.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch her pitch twice over the weekend. It's Niger Kennedy is her name.
All right.
And she's got a little bit of everything. She's a sophomore. Probably would have been a freshman All-America last year, but she had an injury and her innings didn't quite meet the threshold. So she's a sophomore this year. And what she did against Mississippi State on their Saturday game and the winner game, they got a homer, a bloop single, and a walk, and that was it for the entire game. Now, Fullerton got to her a little bit because they were more of a team. They took shorter swings. She's only given up 7 homers in like 240 innings in her career. So that's, the one that Mississippi State got was something that's not normal. Short swings. She's got the rise ball that has a couple of different levels to it, and it's so fast. She throws mid 70s, and LSU has seen that from Carlin Pickens from Tennessee. But this is a little bit of a different thing because she's got a great off speed and a very good breaking pitch, and she would throw 75, and then throw a 50-mile-an-hour up there that just had hitters baffled. So Fullerton got to her for a couple runs, and then she slammed the door. And unfortunately, for those of us who wanted to stay home for the weekend, Fullerton had one bad inning where they gave up 4 runs and made some bad decisions, and then Kennedy took it from there and shut him down the rest of the way. So, but you're right, though. Film study. This is a week where the kids are out of school. We're going to be sequestered on the West Coast for a couple of days, and batting practice and all the film and ways to figure out what can you do with this kid, because she's been very good, very good, and may be the player of the year in the nation this year.
36 strikeouts in 3 games in the regional. That's impressive.
Yeah, and again, most of them Fullerton did a good job of making contact early, and then they got away from that a little bit, but then she just kind of upped her game as well. And it's not the pitches that she throws, but they mix them really well. Now, I will say this about Stanford: when you get past her, I'm not honestly terribly impressed with what they bring. Their offense was shut down most of the weekend. Their second pitcher gave up 6 runs to St. Mary's on Friday, and then gave up. She pitched game 1 Sunday and took what ended up being an 8-1 loss. And their defense is kind of average. So it really is. If you take Kennedy away, they're kind of an ordinary team. However, she's good enough to beat you twice by herself on a weekend.
Join in summer fun at your library. Every Friday in June at 7 p.m., families are invited to the main library on Goodwood for Movies on the Plaza. Teens can participate in our Cool Career Series and Teen Summer Film Camp. Plus, there'll be children's programs galore. Find out how to sign up for EBRPL Summer Reading Program at ebrpl.com/summer reading. ebrpl.com/summer reading.
LSU offensively starting to look a little bit more like the team we saw at the beginning of the year. Wouldn't you agree, Patrick?
Yeah, and to give yourself a fighting chance against a pitcher this good, you got to have some hitters who are in a good frame of mind. And Taylor Pleasance kind of feels like the last couple of weeks has gotten her stroke back, as has Allie Newland, and those were 2 bats that were big early, and they both had kind of the same. It's tough when they both kind of slump at the same time, and most of April and early into May was rough for both of them, but they both had good SEC tournaments. They both had good regionals, so they put back-to-back good weekends together. So that's something that you hope they can kind of carry into the weekend. You really, if these games go as you think they're going to go, and it's going to be 1-0, 2-1ish, all you need is just a couple good swings somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think you can plan on scoring 5 or 6, but if you can put a couple on the board, let Sydney Berzon, Kelly Lynch try to win with that. I mean, that can happen.
I was going to ask you, Sydney Berzon and Kelly Lynch continue to be outstanding. I mean, this is the best pitching duo they've had in a long time, wouldn't you say, Patrick?
I think consistently, yeah, and especially they put it together here at the end. Allie Kilponen was good for a good part of her career, but honestly, she struggled down the stretch last year. And Shelby Sinceri kind of was in the same boat. And Lynch really has kind of hit this hot streak about the last month or so. But when she found it, I mean, she had the no-hitter against Auburn, and then the next week threw a 2 or 3 hit shutout at Tennessee. And that's where she kind of got rolling. Berzon has just been steady as can be in the last 6 weeks. She has honestly been one of the best pitchers in the country. Her pitches are sharp. She is putting them where she wants to. She's getting ground balls. And the best part of that is the defense has gotten better. They finally have found a good answer at third base. Madison Manning has played a very solid third base. She's the 4th one they've had, unfortunately, with the injury to Coffey and then, Sierra Daniel and Maddox McKee. But Manning has kind of solidified that spot, and the defense has been well above average these last few weeks. So last 3 weekends, LSU has played good ball. They've won 7 of their last 9. So it doesn't guarantee anything this week, but I'd rather go into this weekend with that, with some positive momentum, than just kind of on a hope and a prayer.
Patrick, Coach Torina was pretty vocal this past week that, she felt like LSU got wronged by not hosting or being one of the top 8 seeds, so they would have a super regional. Do you think it's a disadvantage for LSU to have to play Stanford at Palo Alto?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to have those guys down here with this 95-degree heat we're going to have this weekend, and see how they hold up. And Coach has got a point. I mean, this is what I've kind of told a couple of people who have asked. I think if you took LSU's whole body of work and you threw all of them into like one of those things they do the lotto balls with, and then just kind of reprint the schedule, you get a top 8. But what the committee absolutely looked at was, we started 24-0, and that got so much attention that I think it kind of put an emphasis on the fact that after we were 24-0, the record was 16-15. Mm-hmm. Even though it was in the toughest conference, even though we played the top 5 teams in the conference, that is what ultimately, that's the only thing that put LSU out of a top 8, was the order in which they lost the games. So if you shuffle them up and don't look at what order they happened, I think LSU's a top 4, 5, 6 seed.
Yeah, I would say I think that losing 6 out of the 8 SEC series, Patrick, I just think that's hard to justify someone getting in a top 8 national seed. And then in some of those series, I think it was the Florida and the Tennessee series, they won those games. They won a game in those series, but it was only by 1-0. And I know Coach Torina points at the RPI of a 4, or their RPI ranking of 4, but you watched. I mean, they weren't the 4th best team in the country. I mean, just the eye test would tell you during a big part of that SEC stretch.
Yeah, and then you can also go back and specifically point to a couple of spots. There was a Florida game. We had a 3-run lead late, gave that up.
Yeah.
Losing 2 out of 3 at home to both Auburn and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You finished toward the bottom of the league. Just give me any 2 of those 3 games, and we're probably not having this discussion.
All right, man. Well, let's hopefully we're having a discussion next week. That means LSU's in the Women's College World Series. Have a safe trip out west, Patrick.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
That'll be it for today's show. I'd like to thank Jeff, Todd, and Patrick for the discussion. We'll be back next week, but until then, stay tuned to TigerRag.com for all your latest LSU sports news.